What's up, everybody? It's Saul, and as of yesterday, March 12th, 2025, we finally got our first look at the Chapter 4 DLC release roadmap, and we got to see the upcoming DLCs in that pack. Today, I thought I'd share a few of my thoughts, my opinions, my feelings, as I typically do when we get a new DLC pack announced, and just hopefully have some conversation with you guys in the comments as well. So without further ado, let's begin. And I'm going to start with the Crowns of the World. As you guys know, I don't feel too particularly about these kind of DLC. They're just for free when you buy the DLC pack. I don't really care about them. I don't think much about them. It's just cosmetics. It's cool that they're crowns for everywhere, so it's like a not just region locked thing. It's for all over the place, which I appreciate personally, but I don't care too much about it, so that's pretty much my thoughts on that. The next DLC is Cons of the Steppe, which is set to release April 28th, 2025. This is the core expansion, and this is actually the DLC I'm looking forward to the most, which might surprise some people. I've really been looking forward to nomadic government types. I'm a huge fan of the sort of raiding migrational lifestyle that, you know, like Vikings and also like horse lords would have. So I'm very much looking forward to this. By the preview video, because we didn't get a dev diary, we know that nomadic governments are going to be mainly determined by might, herd, and land. So your land size, how strong you are, and how big your herd is. Migration is going to be possible and necessary, I guess, due to something called fertility, which I assume they're going to flesh out more and explain that more, which apparently it's just going to be that your herd will ebb and flow with the fertility of the seasons. At least that's what I would assume it's going to be. It'd be cool if it had like a negative modifier where you would lose herd in the winter or something and then have a positive one in the summer. Or like depending on how the fertility was in the area, like maybe if there was a blight or something, like you would lose herd, that could be cool. And I keep saying herd. Herd is going to be a new type of currency for nomads, kind of like provisions for landless characters. It looks to me like nomads are going to be a lot like landless characters, only their camp is going to be bigger, like an estate for the admin government, which is pretty sweet. Empires and kings are going to have tributaries, which are going to be trickled down to the other government types as well, because people have been asking about them. But I'm really looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be fun, not only just playing as Genghis Khan, but being able to play as migrating nomadic government types all over the map. You could be in like Hungary, you could be anywhere. I mean, you could be in Africa, it doesn't really matter. This is the one I've been looking forward to for a while. I think I've been talking about this since like before Chapter 3 was even announced. I'm really hoping that they find a way to make the herd mechanic interesting, I guess would be my biggest concern. And then I also hope that as nomads you have like a strong counter in the world, because obviously Genghis Khan didn't, but I feel like from a player standpoint it would be pretty boring if you were just super overpowered. Obviously we'll see how they balance them in game. I think they said they have a unique war mechanic where you don't have levies and you have to sort of like call up your men-at-arms from around the tribes, which is an interesting feature that could be kind of cool, and a way to, I guess, pave the way for some overall war overhauls, even though we're kind of getting those anyway with the free DLC, which I'll talk about towards the end of the video. But really looking forward to this one. I've been wanting nomads for a while. I think this will be an area that I play in a lot, so expect to see a lot of this on the channel going forward. The next DLC is Coronations, and that's set to come out in the third quarter of 2025. I would assume this will be around maybe like July, August, or something like that. This is a activity that actually exists in a couple mods, and there's mods that make this, but it basically legitimizes your rule. As a ruler, coronations were a very important part of medieval history. It's basically, the way they described it is going to be a way to make it feel like you've earned your crown, which is an interesting way to put it. It's going to be an activity, an event pack, so you'll be able to do a coronation, and these coronations, in their own words, are going to essentially determine how your rule goes, which is an interesting feature. I'm not sure how much of that could possibly be true, since a rule could end up being anywhere from like 10 to 70 years. So I can't imagine that something you said at your coronation when you were 15 is going to carry that much weight, but I guess we'll see what they do. Maybe there'll be like permanent modifiers to your rule from the coronation. That could be pretty cool. It feels like this is going to be a fairly small pack, kind of like the Wandering Nobles DLC, which isn't a bad thing. It's interesting that it's going to be between the two big DLC, which the next one is going to be enormous. But we'll jump to that one next. So the final DLC of this pack is All Under Heaven, and this is literally the largest DLC Crusader Kings has ever had across any game. It adds the entirety of China, Japan, Korea, and Indonesia, and they're each going to have supposedly their own government types. So that's going to be China, Japan, Korea are going to have the same, and then maybe Indonesia have its own different one. China's celestial government type is inspired by the admin government, but it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to have something called a hegemony title for the Empire of China. It's also going to have something known as dynastic cycles, which sounds a little bit like there's going to be maybe an internal struggle-like mechanic that happens organically as you strive to achieve the mandate of heaven. I'm not really sure. It has a treasury unique to it, so I'm assuming this is going to be like a form of taxation, sort of like the the clan governments have, but maybe just for China. It'll probably be tweaked, I'm sure. It sounds like they're doing a lot to try to make this as historically accurate as they can, while also maintaining the fact that it's a game. but it sounds like they've reached out to the Chinese community, and I would assume the Japanese and Korean communities as well. There's a few different mod teams that already do stuff and have already expanded the map in this way, so I would assume they've also reached out to them. Apparently the first dev diary for this isn't going to be until May. I'm going to be honest, I don't know how I feel about this one in particular. I'm a little bit worried for a couple reasons. I think that it's possible that this could end up causing problems for performance. A lot of people already have performance issues. They've said that they're going to address this, and that it's something that they're keeping in mind. But I'm really not sure. I think that time will have to tell, just I guess what this does to the game. But I can't imagine such a huge expansion isn't going to cause some sort of performance problems. Plus, I worry about content only because if you're going to add all of these different areas, I mean, you'd have to make an unbelievably huge DLC, which makes me worry for the other DLCs, because this one could be a good DLC like Roads to Power, which was a admittedly massive DLC. It had so much going on and they did it really well. I worry that the features of this one might either feel shallow, or because they're spending so much time focusing on it that Coronations and Cons of the Steppe might suffer for it. But Cons of the Steppe plays into All Under Heaven, so naturally I'm looking forward to this one a little bit more. I'm excited to give it a go and just check it out, but I don't feel like I'm going to be playing over here nearly as much as I would with the Cons of the Steppe or with, the Vikings like I like to do in normal CK3 normally. We'll have to see. And then obviously, of course, before I leave you, I want to talk a bit about the new Crown update, which is really cool. It revamps court positions, it gives them each tasks, and has finally added a way for you to automatically fill them, which I think is huge because it's absolutely super annoying having to refill them constantly. So being able to do that in an automated sense is really awesome. Based on some choices, you can also automate your army. Say you're going to war with like a tiny kingdom, now you don't have to personally fight them, which I think is a brilliant idea. Really well done, great job guys on that one. You can also now see what AI armies are doing when they're just sort of sitting there, which apparently they're not going to do anymore because they've also tweaked the AI of the AI armies. So they should be a little more responsive, a little smarter, and should attack in unison, which might make Crusades a little more difficult. I think that was sort of one of the aims, or make them easier to achieve as the player because, usually the ally AI is absolutely dog water. On top of this, they've also added about 100 new bug fixes, and this is free. This is out right now. The 1.15 Crown update is out right now. Crowns of the World is available for instant unlock if you buy the Chapter 4 DLC. I don't have a ton of other thoughts. I'm really looking forward to Cons of the Steppe. I worry that I'm going to be very front-loaded in my excitement, that I'm mostly not going to care about All Under Heaven personally. I think a lot of people are excited for it, but I have a lot of reservations. We'll have to see in time. I can be proven wrong. I've eaten crow before. I don't mind doing that, but that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I want to thank my channel members for their continued support, and I want to thank my Paladin tier members, and those are Dwayne the Rock Lobster, Zora Luigi, Duinal Valadar, Lackling, Grazo, Candriff, Shadow King Drakon, Titus, and Furkan. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. If you've ever wanted to become a channel member, if you've ever considered it, you can do so through the membership tab. Nights and above get videos 2 to 3 days early, depending on how I'm feeling or depending on what day of the week it is. I know I said that fast, but because I say it a lot. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the DLC. I think this one is exciting. I'm not honestly as hyped for it as I imagined I would be. I think the Nomads is the big thing that I really wanted. I don't care about the other stuff, like I've said over and over again. So I'm a little less excited for that, but we'll see how I feel when we get there. But as always, I'm Sol, and I will happily see you in the next one. And a happy CK3 Chapter 4 announcement date, I guess.